Egypt. I will say, of course, that the people we're referencing over here are Kohanim, because it's Kohanim who are consuming this particular seir. So even though we identify them as Babylonians, in fact, they're not Babylonians, rather they are Alexandrian. So why do we call them Babylonians? Umitoch shesonim esabavlian. But because the rabbis hated the Babylonians, korin osan al shem bavlian. Anyone who they did not like, they called a Babylonian. So we'll say, so this by the way, this could come in handy, right? You can feel free to use this. If there's someone you dislike, you can just call them Babylonian. They won't even realize that you're stalking them. So again, so we'll see why the rabbis did not like the Babylonians in just a moment. So Tanya Namihachi, the Brisa supports this. Rabbi Yossi Omer LaBavliim Heim Ella Alexandrium. In fact, these Kohanim who would eat the raw meat, in fact, again, were not called, they weren't really Babylonians, rather they were Alexandrians. Umitoch shesonan es Bavlian, korin osal shem Bavlian. And the fact that the rabbis did not like the Babylonians, but they used to call these people Babylonians. Amr Rabbi Yehuda, this was actually very beautiful. Rabbi Yehuda says, Tanuach daitcha shenachda daiti. So Rabbi Yehuda says back to Rabbi Rechana, Rabbi Yochanan, thank you so much, right? Eshkoyach to you, because you've put my mind at ease. How have you put my mind at ease? If you look at Rashi, Rashi says over here, Mishpachas Rabbi Yehuda mi Bavel Haisa, lefichach samach b'divrei Rabbi Yossi. So Rabbi Yehuda's family was from Bavel. So because ultimately, again, the Gemara interpreted that the Bavliim were not actually the Bavliim, that the Bavliim were the Alexandrium. So therefore, again, Rabbi Yehuda was very happy that, again, it wasn't actually Bavliim who were behaving in this strange fashion, but rather it was the Alexandrian Jews. So we'll say, what's the nature of this animosity? Again, in general, we'll say, we try, again, not to hate anyone. Certainly not allowed to hate. Not allowed to hate another Jew. So what's the pshat, ultimately, again, with this animosity towards the Babylonians? If we take a look at the top Tosas on Kuf Amud Aleph, Tosas writes, "Shesonim es Babylon, ki da ashkechale parakam diyuma, da Amar le Reb Shimon ben Lakish le Belazar, elokad Yisrael sanin alochu." So we'll say ultimately again, Reish Lakish said to Belazar, the God of Israel hates you. He was talking to the Babylonian Jewry. Why? Lefi shalo alu bimei Ezra. We'll say this is actually amazing. The animosity towards the Babylonian Jews came from the fact that, remember, we've seen this before, a fraction of them came back with Ezra. Only a few thousand Jews actually came back with Ezra. The overwhelming majority of Babylonian Jewry decided to stay put in Bavel, even once they had the opportunity to be Ola li Eretz Yisrael. Umash maskirin osam lignai al she'ochenes hasirim chayim af agav b'mitzah ka'avdi shavol l'denos lefi shergilu atzman kimokein lo'achlam chayim af b'chol hasharon demechse kiravanusa. So as I said, Tosas brings down 2 points here. So first of all, the generally disparaging viewpoint of Babylonian Jewry came from the fact that a fraction, not even a fraction, a minute fraction, went back to Eretz Yisrael, ultimately, again, when given the opportunity to do so. So we'll say, calm down there. It's not us. Let's take it easy, right? Right. But the idea ultimately is that you see this incredible rabbinic displeasure with the Jews of Bavel being granted the opportunity. And apparently, Dr. Elman is booking us all tickets today, right? Baruch Hashem. So you got to put your money where your mouth is. That's it. So ultimately, you see this incredible displeasure with Babylonian Jewry because they did not go back. Now, we'll say, obviously, what does this have to do with consuming this seir raw? So we'll say, so there's 2 different things happening over here. We're voicing a displeasure towards the Babylonians because ultimately, again, there's a general displeasure with the Babylonians. They had the opportunity to be Ola Teretz, so they didn't go. What's wrong with eating the meat raw? Eating the meat raw, we'll say, was mechse kiravanusa. In general, again, it doesn't look nice to eat things raw because it looks gluttonous. I don't know what's the right word. Ravanusa means ravenous, right? Like that you can't wait. You can't wait for the food ultimately to be done. So there's 2 different things. So that meat of eating the food raw, even though again they were doing something good, they were partaking of the seir, the act of eating things raw, which all times. Now, Tosas point out something very interesting over here. The Mishnah talks about the idea that the Babylonians did this, the Bavliim or the Alexandrium, did this when Erev Yom Kippur when Yom Kippur fell out on Erev Shabbos. But apparently, they used to do this all years. In other words, they would always eat this seir raw in order that they can fell out on Erev Shabbos, they would eat it raw as well. So this meat of eating the meat raw, which is interesting, Again, maybe again from a hashkafic perspective, eating your meat too rare, I guess, is mechse kira avanusa. It looks a bit ravenous. Let it cook a little bit more. So there's two different things. So there's disparaging of the Babylonian Jews because they were not Ola Teretz Yisrael, and there's this notion of eating foods raw that has this almost ravenous or gluttonous type of image that it projects. Okay, good. Mishnah Bas, a beautiful Mishnah Bas. So now we're going to get into some very interesting halachas. If you go ahead and you deviate from the normal order of things by the lechem aponim. So sidra es halechem b'Shabbos v'eshabazich achar Shabbos. So I will say if you arrange the lechem on Shabbos. Remember, let's talk about the norm. What's the norm? You put the new lechem. You bake the lechem when? Well, let's go through this. When do you bake lechem? Erev Shabbos, right? The baking of the lechem aponim is not docha Shabbos. So you bake the lechem aponim Shabbos, but you do not arrange it on the shulchan until when? Until Shabbos. Take off the loaves, put on the new loaves. When you put on the new loaves, lechem aponim, what else do you put on the shulchan? The bazich, the 2 spoons of frankincense. When do you leave everything on the shulchan until? The following Shabbos. Following Shabbos is when you take off the loaves, give it to the kohanim to eat. The spoons of frankincense are burnt on the mizbeach. That is a normal functional situation. Now, actually, there's a different situation. If you place the bread on the shulchan on Shabbos, so fine over there, but the bazichin, you put the frankincense on there after Shabbos. And then what happens? So Motzei Shabbos, now we'll say, now what happens? And you end up going ahead and burning the spoons of frankincense on Shabbos. What's the halacha? Pasal. Ultimately, again, everything is pasal, as we're going to see. Why? Because the bazich and the frankincense was not on the shulchan long enough. Look at Rashi just a moment. Pasal, the mechusar zmanhu. Ultimately, again, the frankincense, Rabbi says, what's called mechusar zman. It's lacking requisite time. Shalohaya ala shulchan ela shisha yamim. Because it was only on the shulchan, ultimately, again, for 6 days. Remember, it was put on there Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 6 full days, and on Shabbos, it's burnt. So ultimately, again, it's mechusar zman. It doesn't have enough time. Everything is supposed to be on the shulchan, really for a minimum of 8 days, as we're going to see. So therefore, again, everything is possible. Now remember, the bazichin to a certain degree, and Rashi points this out, are the matir for the lechem. So the burning of the bazichin is what allows consumption for the lechem. Therefore, if the frankincense is not good, therefore what? Therefore, ultimately, again, the lechem becomes pasal as well. So the Mishnah goes on pasal. We'll say, now here's what's interesting. Now, once everything becomes pasal, therefore what? Therefore, in chayav alem mishum pigol nosar vitame. Therefore, we'll say, the bread will not be subject to the laws of pigol, nosar, and tame. Why not? We'll say, you could only become subject to pigol, nosar, and tame when? If you had a shasa kosher. It's only if an item was fit for consumption that it can become pigol, nosar, or tame. If it was never fit, then ultimately, again, it cannot become pigol, nosar. So we'll say we already knew that from our zvachim days. Sidra es halechem ves habazichin b'Shabbos. We'll say case number 2. I put the lechem and the bazichin on Shabbos. So far, everything is good. Everything is being placed on at the right time. Ve'ikter es habazichin la'achar Shabbos. And I will say what happens. I end up offering up the bazichin too early. So I put the lechem and the bazichin on the shulchan, and then the next day, Sunday, I end up offering up the bazichin on the shulchan. Well, on the mizbeach. So we'll say, what's the halacha? Psula. So once again, everything is pasul. We'll say again, remember, in order for the lechem to be fit for consumption, the lechem has to be on the shulchan for the requisite amount of time. The bazichin has to be on the shulchan for the requisite amount of time. The bazichin has to be offered up on the mizbeach at the right time. Change any of those factors, and the lechem is pasul. And therefore, again, I will say if it's possible, and I will say again, remember, once the lechem becomes possible, I'm no longer obligated, or there's no longer any kind of liability for nosar, pigol, and tameh. Because again, I will say, remember again, nosar, pigol, and tameh only kick in when? If the carbon was fit for consumption. Good. Sidra es halechem bes havazichin la'achar Shabbos. So we'll say, watch this case. What happens if halacha l'maisa? I went ahead, and this is actually an interesting case. I got delayed, and I don't put the lechem and the bazichin on the shulchan until after Shabbos, until Sunday. Right? Sunday. Now we'll say Achar Shabbos could be Matzah Shabbos. Achar Shabbos could be Sunday morning. It doesn't really matter. The point is, it's the day after Shabbos. So I forgot, or whatever the Metzias is, I put the lechem and the bazichin on the shulchan on Sunday. What's the halacha? So the hikter is habazichin b'Shabbos, and I will say I offer up the bazichin on Shabbos. So once again, psula. Once again, I will say again, it's possible because I don't have the requisite time. So Ketza Yasa. So we'll say in a case like this, where let's say I put the lechem and the bazichin on the shulchan, not on Shabbos but after Shabbos, what do I do? There is a way to remedy this. So how do you remedy it? Ketza Yasa Yanichena l'Shabbos haba. But it's a very simple remedy. What do? Leave it on the shulchan for one additional Shabbos. So look at Rashi for just a moment. Yanichena l'Shabbos haba. Rashi says the Yamod shivu'ayim ala shulchan. Just let the lechem sit on the table for 2 weeks. Kevan de lo nistar b'Shabbos ein shulchan mekacho ad Shabbos haba hilchach lo mifsa balina lematzei Shabbos. So this is a very important halacha. The halacha is that it is only when you place the lechem on the shulchan on Shabbos that the shulchan is mekadesh the lechem. Which means that if you place the lechem on the shulchan on Sunday, the lechem has not been mekudash, it has not been sanctified. So now there's a very easy way to remedy. You could fix this. How do you fix it? I put it on Sunday. What do? Leave it on until Shabbos. When next Shabbos comes up, I'll say, what happens? What happens? Now the lechem is kadosh. Once the lechem is kadosh, the clock starts. Once the clock starts, then what? Leave it. Shabbos, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Shabbos. Now it gets its full 8 days on the shulchan. Take it off the following Shabbos. Burn the bazichin on that following Shabbos, and Shalom Al Yisrael. So we'll say this is a very unique halacha by lechem. Remember again, once the clock starts, the lechem does become puzzle with lina, but the clock only starts when the lechem is placed on the shulchan on Shabbos. If the lechem is placed on the shulchan any other day, the clock doesn't start until the following Shabbos. So therefore, again, I will say, in a situation where you miss Shabbos and you end up placing the lechem and the bazichin on the shulchan on Sunday, or you can fill in the blank, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the amazing part is you could fix this. You could fix this situation. How do you fix this situation? Again, halacha l'maisa, they just let the clock run starting from the following Shabbos until the Shabbos after that. So it turns out, says the Gemara, you could end, or says the Mishnah, you could end up having the lechem on the shulchan, I will say, for how long? For 2 weeks. Now the only thing that I will say that the only negative part of this is that, remember, the Kohanic group going off shift on Shabbos number 1 is not going to get lechem that Shabbos. So that, because remember, there's nothing coming off the table that Shabbos. So that's the only thing. But okay, but at least the good news is you have the ability to go ahead and what? You have the ability to go ahead and halacha l'maisa remedy these loaves.
Rabbi,
yes.
Is this how the Jews created penicillin? I mean, it would have been
by letting it sit. By letting it sit. Now remember again, this obviously works in concert with the knowledge that what? So we'll say, so first of all, Kiva Noach's point, and because you live in Eretz Yisrael, I'm going to assume you don't know the no question rule. Right? But again, so okay, good. But this is a very important point. I will say, so obviously, what does this show you? What does this show you? What this shows you is that it must have been that the miracle of the shulchan worked even when the shulchan was not mekadesh the lechem, right? So that's the amazing part over here. Is Akiva Noach is saying good, right? So which is, I would say, amazing. See, even though again in this case where I'm putting the lechem on the shulchan on Sunday, so really the shulchan is not mekadesh the lechem as a klisharis until when? Until Shabbos. But yet, amazingly enough, it's clear that the loaves stay fresh, because if they were going to go moldy, then this whole eitzah doesn't even make sense. So I will say, so that's amazing. So we always thought the ability of the shulchan to maintain the freshness of the loaves, that miracle was rooted in the shulchan's identity as a klisharis. You see over here that it keeps the loaves fresh even when it's not a klisharis. Excellent. Right, so the Gemara goes weiter. So the Gemara says, "Kesi yani." So Mishnah says, "Kesi yani Shabbos haba shafilu." So the Mishnah ends off by saying, "Shafilu hi ala shulchan yomim rabim ein bekach klum." Supposed to say this is actually quite fascinating, because what it comes down to over here is even the Mishnah says, even if the lechem is on the shulchan for many days, ein bekach klum. ultimately, again, it makes no difference. So we'll say, look at Rashi for just a moment. Yani chena l'Shabbos haba, v'yamot shvu'ayim ala shulchan, t'chevan d'lo nistra b'Shabbos in shulchan mekadsho ala Shabbos. We'll say, remember again, the shulchan only acts as a kli sharis in mekadesh the lechem when the loaves are on there on a Shabbos. Hilchach lo mifsa balina lematzei Shabbos. Therefore, again, I will say, ultimately, the loaves do not become mifsa balina. The Shita Mekubetzes changes this. Ad lematzei Shabbos sheni. See, I will say, remember again, let's be clear. You cannot leave lechem apanim loaves on the shulchan indefinitely. At some point in time, they do become pasabalina. But I will say, when did they become pasabalina? Only when? Only on the second Matzei Shabbos. In other words, once the loaves are there on a Shabbos, so the shulchan acts as a kli sharis, is mekadesh the loaves that Shabbos. The loaves can remain on the shulchan until the following Shabbos, but you must take them off the shulchan when Rabbi say by the second Matzei Shabbos. If you don't take them up by the second Matzei Shabbos, then enachinami they become pasabalina. So let's go back to the Gemara. Tanan Hasam. I'm supposed to listen to this, so we're gonna go on a little bit of a tangent over here, which actually is a wonderful tangent. We'll be back to the Mishnah shortly. Amar Tanan Hasam. So we'll say this is the Gemara Mesechas Yuma. Amar Lahem Hamamuna. Su'u Ru'im Egiaz Man Shchit. So we'll say, remember again, this is talking about halacha l'maisa in order to shecht the carbon tamid. So every single morning before they shechted the carbon tamid, there was a guy who was in charge to make sure that dawn had arrived. So Amar Lahem Hamamuna. So ultimately, the person in charge, we'll discuss who he is in just a moment. Person in charge of the carbon tamid would say to the Kohanim, to go and see if ultimately the time for shechting the tamid has arrived, i.e., if the dawn has dawned. Imigia, ultimately again, if the dawn had arrived, haroa omer, the person who saw this would say, barakai. So we'll say barakai means it has dawned, right? It has become light. Matisya ben Shmurl, Omer, we'll say Matisya ben Shmurl said. So we'll say, who is Matisya ben Shmurl? Rashi says he was Hayat Mamuna Akach. Matisya ben Shmurl literally was the one who was in charge, ultimately, again, of the Kohanim for the carbon tamid and of this whole process of declaring the dawn. Rashi says, Shay Mamuna ala payasos, v'haya payasos shemefaisin kishir hayom. He was actually in charge of the Kohanic lotteries, which decided which coin was going to do which avoda. So Matisya ben Shmuel says, Matisya ben Shmuel Omer, Heir Pnei Kol HaMizrach Hatshe B'Chevron. So I will say, Matisya ben Shmuel says, by the way, this happened a little bit differently. What they would do is they would send one of the Kohanim up to the rooftop of the Beis HaMikdash, and they would ask him questions. They would ask him, Heir Pnei Kol HaMizrach Hatshe B'Chevron. They would ask him, has the dawn, has the horizon become light all the way from Yerushalayim until Chevron? V'hu Omer Hein. And he would say yes. So we'll say, so just a difference over here of opinions exactly how this dawn process worked. Was it one guy going up to the rooftop of the Beis HaMikdash calling out to Barakai, it's become dawn, or was it that he went up and they asked him a series of questions, has the dawn dawned from here to Chevron? Either way, and he would say yes. We'll say, why did they need this entire process? I'll tell you why. Shepam achas ala ma'or halavana v'dimu sheher mizrach. Because we'll say one time they made a mistake. One time they saw light on the horizon, but the mistake they made was what? The mistake was it wasn't sunlight. What was it? It was moonlight. So we'll say they thought the day had arrived. V'dimu sheher pnei mizrach shachtu es hatamid. So we'll say what did they do? Because they thought that the day had arrived, they shechted the carbon tamid. V'otziu lebeis hasreifa. And we'll say they shechted the carbon tamid, and then they realized that what? It still was nighttime. So we'll say, so they illegally shechted the tamid, excuse me. So what did they have to do? They had to take the carcass of the animal and essentially discard it. So in order to go ahead, I will say, and avoid that type of situation of erroneously shechting the carbon tamid at nightfall, they had this more thorough process. Sending the guy up to the rooftop, Barakai, as the dawn dawns from here until Chevron, in order to avoid this erroneous situation. So let's say now the Mishnah says another detail over here. Going gadol beis hatvila, and ultimately again I will say after this they would go ahead and take the kohen gadol to do. So we'll say once the dawn had arrived. This is by Yom Kippur. Once the dawn had arrived, they took the kohen gadol to do his first tevila of the day. We'll say this is the general rule in the Beis HaMikdash. Kol ha-mesich es raglov ton tvila. It was actually quite amazing. So kol ha-mesich es raglov means if you would defecate, if a kohen would defecate, he would have to go to the mikvah. V'chol ha-matil mayim, but if you would urinate, ton kiddush yadayim v'raglayim. He wouldn't have to go to the mikvah, but he would require a sanctification of his hands and his feet. Tani avud Rabbi Avin, lo zu bilvad. So Rabbi Avin Bar said not only this, ela afilu ola sa'of shemimla kabalayla. And both say, now this is a very interesting halacha. If they erroneously offered up the ola sa'of at night, they did malika at night, umincha shenikmet sabalayla, or for that matter, Rabbi say, if they did kamitza at night, what's the halacha? Teitzi lebeis hasreifa. Ultimately, again, you have to burn such a carbon. Why, Rabbi say? Why? Because halacha l'maisa, you're not allowed to do these karbanos at night. It's illegal. It's illegal. Therefore, you go ahead and you'd have to burn it. So bishlama ola sa'of mishum dola efshar lahadura. So I understand why ola sa'of. If I accidentally did the malika at night, then I have to burn the rest of the carbon. Why, Rabbi say? Why? Because you can't exactly put that back together, right? So again, once I did malika, it's done, and therefore I have to burn the carcass of the bird. However, elamincha after the mahadir komets leduchte the komets biyama. We'll say by mincha I do have a way of remedying this. So we'll say what happened? I did the kamitza at night. It turns out I thought it was day. It's really night. So we'll say there's an easy remedy for that. What's the easy remedy for that? Just put it back. Just put it back at the kamitza into the rest of the mixture. Why do I have to burn everything? To which the Gemara says, "Hu tani la, v'hu amar la, kli sharis mekanshin shelo bizmanan." We'll say, what do you see from here? That a kli sharis has the ability to mekadesh the komets even when it's not the right time. So therefore, we'll say, when I did the illegal kamitza and I placed the komets in the kli sharis, even though it was at night, that kli sharis was mekadesh the komets. And therefore, again, Abba say, when it turns out that it's nighttime and not really daytime, I have no remedy to put the komets back, because the kli sharis is mekadesh the komets. Because I can't put the komets back, then what? I just have to burn the mincha in its entirety in the beis hasreifa and bring another mincha by day. So says the Gemara Meisvei. I'm going to raise a kash on this. Kala kariv bayom kadosh bayom. We'll say anything that is offered by day. Anything that is offered by day. The kli sharis is mekadesh it by day. Look at Rashi for just a moment. We'll say it's the last two narrow lines in Rashi. Kala kadosh bayom can go in stam karbanos. So we'll say stam karbanos which are offered up by day. Kadosh bayom. She'im nasno b'kli sharis bayom kli sharis mekadra. So we'll say, so the Mishnah Gemara seems to say as follows: Kol hakaribam, any carbon that is offered up by day, ultimately again is what? Kadosh bayom. The kli sharis sanctifies it by day. Balayla, kadosh balayla. Any carbon that is offered up at night, so the kli sharis is mekadesh it at night. Bein bayom, bein balayla. Any carbon that is offered up both by night and by day. Kadosh bayom ubalayla. Bein bayom, bein balayla. The kli sharis has the ability to sanctify both by day and by night. Kala kadosh, kala kariv bayom, kadosh bayom, bayom in balayla. Now, what do you see from here? It sounds like what Rabbi was saying, that Allah Chalamaysa, if you have a carbon that is only offered up by day, when is the kli sharis mekadesh it? When? Only by day, not at night. If that's the case, Rabbi say, then what? Let's go back to the mincha case. What did we say? If you accidentally did kamitza at night because you thought it was daytime, you took the kamitza, you put it in the kli sharis. What did the Gemara say before? What do we do with that mincha? We have to burn it. Why? Because it was illegally consecrated. But what do we just say over here? It sounds like over here that any carbon that is only offered by day, the kli sharis only consecrates it by day. If that's the case, that if I accidentally did kamitza on a mincha by night, and it's only supposed to be offered up by day, then what? Then the kli sharis really wasn't mekadesh it. I should be able to put the kamitza back and shalom Yisrael and offer it again up by day. To which the Gemara says, no. Eno kadosh lekariv, aval kadosh li pasal. You're right, I will say. The idea over here is when you illegally do kamitza, when you do illegal kamitza at night, and you put that kamitza in a kli sharis, so the kli sharis, I will say, is not mekadesh it to be offered, but it is mekadesh it to become pasul. In other words, I will say that we've seen this distinction before, that sometimes sacrificial items can be endowed with sanctity enough to render them unfit, enough to render them pasul, but not enough to offer them up as a carbon. So when you place that kamitza in the kli sharis at night, so we'll say I can't go ahead and offer up that kamitza, but it absolutely can become invalidated as an invalid sacrificial item. So the Gemara says, most of Rabbi Zera, so we'll say Rabbi Zera is the kasha. What's the kasha? Sidra es halechem be'es habazichin achar HaShabbos. So we'll say, watch this. Mishnah's case, I went ahead and I put the lechem and the bazichin on the shulchan when? On Motzei Shabbos. On Motzei Shabbos. V'hikter es habazichin b'Shabbos, and I go ahead and I offer up the bazichin the following Shabbos, psula. So we'll say, what's the halacha? The halacha is that the lechem is possible. Why? Why? Because the bazichin were offered up mechusar zman without enough time. Keisa yasa, what should you do in order to make this lechem good? Yani chena l'Shabbos haba. Both say, what do you have to do? You really should let the lechem sit until when? The lechem and the bazichin both say, sit when? Until the following Shabbos. So in essence, the lechem and the bazichin will be on the shulchan for 2 weeks. Shafidu hi ala shulchan yamim rabim ein bakach klum. Because even if the lechem and the bazichin sit on the shulchan for a long time, Rabbi say, now remember, long time Rabbi say does not mean indefinitely. Remember again, there is a window. How long could it sit on the shulchan until? How long could it sit until? Until ultimately 2 weeks. Until again the second Shabbos. So says the Gemara, so if you Rabbi say that's what? That a klisharis has the ability to sanctify something, even though not to offer it, but ultimately for it to become pasul, then what? Likdosh v'lifso. Ultimately, you're going to say, look at Rashi for just a moment. Likdosh, second wide line in Rashi. Second one, likdosh me'echad b'Shabbos v'chimati idach techad Shabbos li pasabalina l'matzei Shabbos. So also listen to this. You just said before that's what. Let's now both say what we're doing is we're bringing a number of different sacrificial worlds together. What did you just say beforehand? Beforehand we just said that halacha l'maisa, if you take the kamitza of the mincha, ultimately when at night, and you place it in a klisharis. So we'll say, what's the status of that mincha? What's the status of the mincha? Right? It's pasul. Right? In other words, that ultimately again it cannot be offered up. Why? Because halacha l'maisa, you took it at night, but the placement in the klisharis is enough to go ahead and make it possible that it has to be burned. It has to be. Now, we'll say, now if that's the case, then why don't I bring that same logic over here to the shulchan? If you want to tell me that a klisharis ultimately is mekadesh, when Rabbi say even shelo bizmanon, then likdosh v'lifsol. Then ultimately again, then really even the lechem and the bazichin on the shulchan should become kadosh shelo bizmanon, should be possible after the first Motzei Shabbos and should have to be burned. Rabbi says, man de kamosiv, shapir kamosiv. Avud Rabbi Abin nami masnisa ka'amar kasavar laila ein mechusar zman. Hayamim mechusarin zman. Rabbi said, listen to this. See, he says, Rabbi said, there's a difference between putting something in a klisharis at night, but it really should be offered up by day, versus something that is mechusar yamim. Look at this. Look at Rashi. Rashi says, aval yamim mechusar zman. Yamim having mechusar zman hilchach lechem hanistar be'echad b'Shabbos lo mekandesh le'efsulei da'akati yam kama yamim ad yesh ad zman. So listen to this distinction. When you go ahead and you take a karban mincha and you take a kamitza and you put it in the klisharis at night, so Rabbi will say, what's the problem? What's the problem? The problem is nighttime, right? But Rabbi will say, if you think about it again, that is a generally relatively small problem. In other words, just a couple of hours and the mincha has the proper time. Therefore, I will say, when you go ahead and you take something that is mechusar zman, it should have been put in by day, but you put it by night. Okay, so sacrificially it's compromised. You can't offer it, but what? It is definitely endowed with sacrificial sanctity to the point that now it becomes invalid for further use. I will say that's different than when you place the lechem on the shulchan on a Sunday. So we'll say, when you put lechem on the shulchan on a Sunday, we'll say, you're not even in the ballpark. Why not even in the ballpark? Because remember again, when does that lechem become chadosh? When? Only the following Shabbos. So we'll say, you can't even call that mechusar zman. So when you go ahead and you place a mincha in a klisharis, you take a kamitza illegally at night because you thought it was day, and you put in this, okay, so we'll say, so you're a couple of hours off. If you're a couple of hours off, it works to a degree. it works to make it possible and endows it with sanctity to the point that now it has to be burned. It can no longer be used anymore. But what? But halacha l'maisa, again, you're in the ballpark. You place lechem on the shulchan on a Sunday. It will say you're not even in the ballpark. Therefore, what? The shulchan is not mekadesh the lechem until when? Until the next Shabbos. So we'll say this. I want to point out is a fascinating here. Laila in Mechusar Zman, Hayom in Mechusaran Zman. Laila is not considered Mechusar Zman, we'll say. You're in the ballpark. Therefore, when you place that Kemitza into the Klisharis, it becomes Kodesh. Not to be offered up, but to become Pasul. But ultimately, Yomim, when you're missing days, ultimately, again, it's not called Mechusar Zman. Therefore, the Lechem does not become Kodesh until the following Shabbos. So we'll say, I just want to point out, this is a fascinating piece of sacrificial. I don't want to use the word trivia, because trivia sounds like something trivial. What's a better word? Factoid. Right? Sacrificial factoid. Good. We'll say this, like, if you're ever you ever looking to just start up some conversation, have you ever seen a situation where something could be sitting in a klisharis for days, and still not be kodesh? And you'll say, funny you should ask, right? Yes, it applies to lechem haponim placed on the shulchan on a Sunday. We'll say this happens to be a dramatic piece of information because we'll say in general, again, something is placed in a klisharis, it becomes instantaneously kodesh. There seems to be one exception to this one, which is lechem haponim. That as Akiva Nach mentioned before. Again, you place this on the shulchan on a Sunday. It's in a klisharis. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We'll say it's not Kodesh. When does it become Kodesh? Ultimately again on Shabbos. So we'll say it's a dramatic halacha. Sof, Omid Bezer, we'll say sof. Kimate lele debe shimshi likdash v'lifsal. But I don't understand. Still at the end of the day, says Gemara, fine. So I understand. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's not Kodesh. The lechem is not Kodesh on the shulchan. But it comes ben hashmashas, right? Or comes the evening, ultimately again of the first Shabbos, it should become kodesh. Look at Rashi, Tap Rashi, Kuf Amud Beis, Kimati Leila de Beishim, Shishel Shabbos Rishona, Likdosh, the Amrit Laila in Mechusar Zman, Velif Sobel Shishi Shel Shabbos Belina, Shari Omid Sham Shmoni Yam Malev Shabbos. Listen to this. So it says the Gemara, fine, you put the bread there on Sunday, so comes Shabbos night. Once Shabbos comes, the bread is now kodesh. Why doesn't it become pasul belina already on the first Shabbos? Likdosh Lifsal. Amarava, what's the case? Bishakidem the silek. Rabbi said, this is amazing. So Rabbi said, the case is where you took it off the shulchan on the first Shabbos. Rabbi said, look at Rashi's one. Bishakidem v'silko. Kodem bin hashmashal shel Shabbos Rishona v'sidr lemachar. So Rabbi said, so Rabbi adds in an interesting halacha, which is that what you would do is comes the first Friday night, so you take the bread off. You take the bread off before Shabbos morning, and what do? You rearrange it again the next Shabbos morning. In other words, I take it off Friday night and I arrange it again Shabbos morning. I will say, now Rav is suggesting this in order to bypass any potential lina situation. Marzut Ravi, Taim Ravashi, Amar Afilu, Taim B'Shalo, Kidem V'Silek, Kevan Desidro Kiloshim Mitzvaso. Well, this is amazing. So comes along Ravashi. Marzut Ravashi says, no, you don't need to start taking the loaves off, putting them back on. Since you put them on, Shalo Ki Mitzvaso. Well, say, what does that mean? Since you put them on in a wrongful way, the Gemara says, Naaseh kimisha sidra hakof. It's like a monkey put it on. They say, now what does that mean? It's like a monkey put it on. See, they say, placing the lechem on the shulchan on a Sunday, Rabbi say, is essentially a halachically irrelevant act. It's an irrelevant act. Because it's a halachically irrelevant act, Rabbi say, therefore again, it's something very important. The psul of lina, Rabbi say, what is the psul of lina? What is the psul of lina? You did something sacrificially relevant or sacrificially meaningful. You left it beyond the prescribed time for consumption. That's lina. If something was not yet sacrificially relevant or meaningful, then the psul of lina does not kick in. I will say the same way that a carbon cannot become pigul, nosar, or tame. If there was not a permitted window of consumption, lina, Rabbi say, only kicks in when something sacrificially meaningful or relevant has occurred. Placing the loaves on the shulchan on a Sunday, Rabbi say, what is the status of that act? Nothing. The only time that act retroactively becomes, not even retroactively, the only time that act becomes something meaningful, Rabbi Say, is when on Shabbos. So now that I have loaves on the shulchan on Shabbos, now Shabbos triggers the identity of the shulchan as a klisharis, sanctifies the loaves on that Shabbos, and now on Shabbos number 1, the clock starts, and Rabbi Say starts until when? Shabbos number 2. So Rabbi Say, so bottom line, this is how the Rambam paskins. Rabbi Say, this is actually very important. If for some reason you delayed putting the loaves on the shulchan until Sunday with the bazichin, so there is a way to save this situation. It just turns out that you end up having the same loaves on the shulchan for close to 2 weeks. So we'll say, so what do you do in such a situation? You put the loaves on the shulchan on Sunday. What do you do? Nothing, right? What you do is you leave it there. And we'll say just the halachic mechanics of this is you put them on there on Sunday. Essentially from Sunday through Friday, that placement is to a certain degree irrelevant. Comes Shabbos triggers the identity of the shulchan as a klisharis, sanctifies the loaves. Once you sanctify the loaves on Shabbos number 1, the clock starts. What did Rabbi say? Leave them there till Shabbos number 2. Shabbos number 2, then you take off those loaves, give them to the shift of Kohanim going out, put the new loaves on, burn the bazichin on the Mizbeach. You've salvaged the loaves. And again, as the Kibbanoch mentioned, obviously this solution is a raya to the fact that the miracle of the loaves apparently applied to the loaves even when they were put on in a non-sacrificial manner. Good. Says the Mishnah. We'll say, so let's listen to this next case. Shtei alechem. Re'in ein pachos mishnayim v'lo yosar shlosha. So we'll say now we're transitioning back from to shtei alechem. What shtei alechem? Shtei alechem are the loaves of Shavuos. The loaves of Shavuos. So we'll say the shtei alechem were never eaten less than 2 days after being baked. So right, so in other words, you never eat them. They were never eaten less than 2 days. Nechalos ein pachos mishnayim v'lo yosar shlosha, and never more than 3 days after they were baked. How so? Ketzad nefos me'erev yamtiv. If they were, remember what I was supposed to say, you don't bake shtei alechem is not docha yamtiv, right? So you don't bake them on yamtiv. So watch this. Ketzad nefos me'erev yamtiv nechalos b'yamtiv l'shnayim. So we'll say on a regular year, shtei alechem was baked when? We'll say baked when? Erev Shavuos. So we'll say, remember, so therefore again, if on a regular year, you bake them on Erev Yom Tov, and when do you eat them? On Yom Tov. We'll say, what does that represent? 2 days. Day number 1 is the day they were baked, and they were consumed on the 2nd day of Yom Tov. Good. So the Gemara says, Chal Yom Tov, Lios Achar Shabbos. So we'll say in a case where Yom Tov falls out on Sunday, so when would you bake the loaves, Rabbi say? Friday. Therefore again, you have Friday, Shabbos, Sunday. Nechalos l'shlosha. That's when the shtei alechem will be eaten 3 days after being baked. Lechem aponim. So we'll say lechem aponim. Nechal in pachos mitisha v'lo yoser ala chalasar. So we'll say lechem aponim is eaten at a minimum of 9 days after the baked. Now we'll say when we say 9 days, as we're going to see, that includes what? The day they were baked and the day they were consumed. So we'll say, so 9 days is a minimum. Ketzad, ne'efa me'erev Shabbos, v'necha b'Shabbos l'tisha. So we'll say they were baked on Friday. So you have Friday, Shabbos, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Shabbos. That's 9 days. So minimum of 9 days after they were baked. Chal Yom Tov lios erev Shabbos. If Yom Tov, Rabbi say, fell out on a Friday, then what? Remember again, you don't bake the lechem aponim on Shabbos or Yom Tov. So when would you bake the lechem aponim? On Erev Yom Tov, on Thursday. So we'll say the Chal La'asara. That's ultimately again 10 days. Yoshnei Yom Tov Rosh Hashanah. We'll say this gets so exciting. So we'll say, so what happens if, let's say, Rosh Hashanah, which remember historically even in Eretz Yisrael was 2 days. So let's say Rosh Hashanah falls out on Thursday, Friday. Remember again, this is before the calendar was set, where these types of situations could happen. So Rosh Hashanah falls out on a Thursday and a Friday. Then what? When are you baking lechem aponim? When? On Wednesday. Nechal achadasar. Ultimately, then you would be eating lechem aponim 11 days after it was baked. Ve'eno docha lo asa Shabbos v'lo asa Yom Tov. Rabbi say neither the shtei alechem nor the lechem aponim is docha Shabbos or Yom Tov. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Omer Moshe Mishem ben Askan dochas hayom tiv ve'ino dochas yom tzom. So I'll say, interestingly enough, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel said in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Askan, was the son of the Skan Kohen Gadol. He said ultimately again dochas hayom tiv. he said that halacha lemaisa, the baking of the lechem apanim is docha Yom Tiv, but eino docha es Yom Tzom, but is not docha Yom Kippur. Not docha Yom Kippur. So we'll say some machlokes. So remember, with shtei alechem, everyone agrees that it's not docha Shabbos, not docha Yom Tiv. Now we have a machlokes ultimately about lechem apanim. Tanakama telling me that lechem apanim is not docha Shabbos baking, not docha Shabbos, not docha Yom Tiv. Rav Shimon Gamliel telling me that it is docha Yom Tiv, it's just not docha Yom Kippur. Rabino. So this is interesting. Divrei Omer nedarim unadavos inkravim b'Yom Tiv. So what's according to the opinion who says that you cannot offer up nedarim and nedavos on Yom Tiv. Lo tema midaoraisa lo tema. Silber says the Divrei Omer nedarim unadavos inkravim Yom Tiv. So what's according to the opinion who says that we do not offer up nedarim and nedavos on Yom Tiv, which means the only thing that's doch Yom Tiv, Rabbi say, is what? Obligatory offerings. Obligatory offerings. We do not offer up optional offerings, which are nedarim and nedavos, vow offerings, gift offerings. We don't offer that up on Yom Tiv. Lo tema midaoraisa michsichazu v'rabbanan hu degazru shelo yasha. So we'll say. So the interesting thing is, how do you understand that halacha that you can't offer up nedarim and nedavos on Yom Tiv? So we'll say you could say on one hand that midaoraisa it's mutter to offer up nedarim and nedavos on Yom Tiv. Chazal, the rabbi stepped in and they said you can't. Why would they say you can't? Shelo yasha, because they both say they don't want people delaying the offering of their karbanos until Yom Tov. You know, also you could think about it like this: if I'm just a regular guy, so I can say to myself, look, I have to go up to the Beis Hamikdash anyway 3 times a year, so I'm not going to start making additional trips for my nidarim and nedavos. Instead, what will I do? I'll just offer everything when I go on the regalim. Chazal did not want you doing that. If you look at Rashi Shema Yasha, Karbanos Kol Hashana Sheyehei Nodev V'Nodev V'Lo Yakrivim Ad HaRegel V'Nimtza Mechavenu Mamtin Melacha Ad HaMoed V'Od Shem Yavar B'At HaAchar. So also you could say maybe Midorais I really can offer up Nedarim and Nedavos on Yom Tiv. The rabbi stepped in and they said, we don't want you doing this. Why? Because you're going to end up delaying it unnecessarily. And I will say that's 2 problems. Number 1, you end up doing extra stuff on Yom Tov, which we don't like. And furthermore, on a real halachic level, you can end up being in violation of Baal Tachar. Because also, when you make a neder and a davar, Rabbi say, how long do you have to bring it? I'm making a dava. You have 3 regalim. So we're concerned that halacha lemaisa, you may come to delay. So the Gemara says, no. Don't say that. Lo teima midoraisa michse chazu v'rabbanan hu digazu shelo yasha elo midoraisa nami lo chazu. Rabbi say the opinion who says that you cannot bring nedarim and nedavos, he holds why? Because midoraisa you're not allowed to bring them on Yom Tiv. Why? How do we know that? Dehashte alechem dechovas hayomu v'leka lameimar shema yasha v'katani eina docheloas hashabbos ulas Yom Tiv. Rabbi say, how do you know this? Because Rabbi say the raya is shtei alechem. What did the Mishnah say? Everyone agreed. That's what Rabbi say. You cannot bake the shtei halechem on Yom Tiv. Why can you not bake the shtei halechem on Yom Tiv? Rabbi say, why not? Why not? Because the truth is, you could do it before Yom Tiv with the same exact results. So you see from here that anything which can be done before Yom Tiv, ultimately again is not docha Yom Tiv. Therefore, Rabbi say the opinion who holds that you can't go ahead and offer up bake the shtei halechem on Yom Tiv will also hold that what? That you could not offer up nedarim and nedavos on Yom Tiv. Why? Because midaraisa Rabbi say it will be aser. Not just simply midarabanan, midaraisa will be aser since what? Since it has the ability to be offered up prior to Yom Tiv with the same qualitative results. Good. Rabbi say mazel tov. Hadrin alach shtei halechem. Rabbi say you have to understand what hakaras hatov we have to have to the Lubliner Rav who went ahead and came up with Daf Yomi. I was saying, because I'm not going to take a show of hands as to how many of us would have learned Perek Shtei Halechem in Meseches Menachos if it was not part of a Daf Yomi cycle. I will say, absolutely amazing. You just saw Perek in Shas that without the intervention of the Lubliner Rav, the Pashtus, most of us, and I include myself in that, would have never, ever learned, and how much you would have lost out on. We would have lost out on how terrible the Babylonians are, right? We would have lost out, right? Ultimately, again, on the halachos of Yom Tov, the halachos of Lechem Apanim. Thank you, Lubliner Rav. Hadron alach shtei alechem. Good. About say new parak. Menachos vanusachim. But another interesting. These are all incredible gemaras. Menachos vanusachim shenitmu. So let's listen to this. What happens if your mincha or your nesach became nesachim, became tamei? So what's the name again? Menachos are your flour offerings. Nesachim ultimately again are the libational offerings that became tamei. Suppose if they became tamei, achlo kidshubakli. Supposed to listen to this case. If they become tamei, they became tamei ultimately again. Until when? Before they became kadosh and a kli sharis. So what's the halacha? Yesh lehem pidyon. So we'll say if they became tamei before they were put into a kli sharis, no problem. What can you do? You redeem it. The Rabbi said, now what does it mean to redeem it? So again, essentially what you do is you redeem its value. In other words, we'll say you go ahead and you redeem it by giving that same amount, you transfer its sanctity onto money, using that money to go ahead and purchase what? New mincha or new nasach. And what do you do with the old mincha, the tamei one? It becomes chulin. It becomes chulin. Ultimately, again, and therefore could be used for whatever you want. Mishi kachubuk, however, I will say, once the nesach or once the mincha becomes kadosh in the klishares, then what? Ein lam pidyon. We'll say once the item becomes kadosh in the klishares, then it cannot be redeemed, even if it becomes tamei. Ha'ofos va'itzim va'lavona uklishares shenitmu. We'll say so if bird offerings or wood or lavona or klishares, we'll say once they became tamei, ein lam pidyon. We'll say they have no redemption. Because ultimately, the concept of pidyon was only said by an animal. We'll see, but it's not just by an animal. What it means is only by the actual offering itself. So only by the actual karban is there a concept of pidyon. Ofos, we'll discuss why there's no pidyon. Eitzim and lavona, which are more carbonic support items. Ultimately, again, the klisharis cannot become redeemed once they have become tamei. Says the Gemara, Amar Shmurl, ma'afilu hein ta'ore niftin. So we'll say, so Shmurl says, the truth is, Shmurl comes along and says, if you have an item which has not yet become sanctified in a klishares, so for example, you have a mincha, or you have nisachim, which have not yet been put in a klishares, we'll say you could redeem it. Why? Why? Because essentially, before it's been put into a klishares, even if it's been designated, it doesn't have kedusha. And I will say, what we will see is, it does have some level of kedusha. It has what's called kedushas domim. Kedushas damim means monetary sanctity. Well, that's great. If something has monetary sanctity, then what Rabbi say? It could be redeemed. It could be redeemed as well. So Rabbi say. So all Shmurl's coming along and just saying, even though the Mishnah said if these items become tamei, as long as they have not yet been put in a klisharis, they can be redeemed. Shmurl's just coming along and saying, by the way, even if they're not tamei, as long as they have not been put, as long as a sacrificial item or a consecrated item has not yet been put in a klisharis, it only has financial sanctity. If it only has financial sanctity, then halacha lamaisa, it can be redeemed. My taimo, what's the reason for this? Kama delokachi bekli kedushas damim ninhu, because it will say as long as the item has not been yet put in a kli, it only has financial sanctity. Ukedushas damim niftu. It will say any item that only has financial sanctity can be redeemed. Nitmu tnan. So we'll say, but why does the Mishnah then say nitmu? I'll tell you why. So we'll say the Mishnah makes it sound like it's only if the Menachos or the Nesachim became tamei. So as long as they were not yet put in a klisharis, you can redeem it. So what does Shmuel do with this? To which the Gemara says no. The truth is the halacha of the Mishnah. Both say that something that has financial sanctity can be redeemed if it was not yet put in a klisharis. Applies even if it's not tamei. Va'idi dekaboy misna seifa mishi kachu bekli eilan pidyon. Shabbos say the reason is because since the end of the Mishnah needs to talk about the case that what? That if it was put into a kli, once it was put into a kli, ein lehen pidyon, it no longer has the ability to be redeemed. Da'afilu nitmu'u. And Rabbi say the novelty at the end of the Mishnah Zatot Rabbi say, once an item has been placed into a klisharis, right, it becomes sanctified. And even if it subsequently becomes tamei, you still cannot redeem it. Therefore, again, tani nami reisha chenitmu. Therefore, Rabbi say ultimately again, the reisha also deals with the same case of nitmu, just to make it symmetrical. But Rabbi say therefore the Mishnah says if it became tamei before it was put into a klisharis, it could also be redeemed to match symmetrically the second part of the Mishnah, which says once it was put into a klisharis, then Rabbi say what? Even if it became tamei, it cannot become redeemed. But Einachinami Shmurl's statement, Rabbi say that halacha lemaisa, if an item, Menachos and Nesachim, have not yet been put in a klisharis, whether they're tamein or tahorim, we'll say halacha lemaisa what? They can be redeemed. Why? Because before a sacrificial item is put into a klisharis, we'll say what does it have? it has Kedushas Damim. When you have Kedushas Damim, financial sanctity, that Kedusha can be redeemed, can be transferred onto money, and the money can be used to purchase something else, and the original item ultimately becomes Chulin. Alright, then we'll stop over here for today.